2, 1. Hey, welcome into the Stinkin podcast. It's the leftovers edition. Last weekend, I was in Washington, the nation's capital, to do the San Francisco 49ers against the Washington Commanders. Mike, I'm Mark. It's good to be with you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for listening. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year. And, yeah, you got a chance to watch the 49ers. I mean, do we want to spend a quick little bit on Washington to kind of put the postmortem on
I think
where they're going, what direction they're going in?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of changes are coming down the pike. There's no question about that. And it'll be really interesting to see exactly what transpires. They were making the move to Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett came up with a hamstring injury, and all of a sudden was not going to start. And I don't know exactly when that went down and how his hamstrings tightened up. I think maybe it was he was looking at the potential bonuses in his contract and pulled the hamstring. But I digress. So he didn't play. Sam Howell played. Obviously, I think there's going to be changes at the head coaching position. I think Eric Bieniemy becomes a really interesting character in this, whether he gets a legitimate chance to interview for the head coaching job of the Washington Commanders, whether he leaves and goes to get some other interviews elsewhere, if he goes back to Kansas City. I don't know what the scenario for Eric Bieniemy will be, but I will tell you, man, I really enjoyed Eric Bieniemy. I've really enjoyed talking to him, getting to know him, and I think that Eric, one, was given a lot of responsibility here to do things on the offensive side of the ball, to run some practices, to do some things, very much like Ron Rivera did for Steve Wilkes back in the day, who's the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. Give him a chance to run the team, to get him ready to be a head coach at some point. Ron is a great man, and truly an altruistic guy that's about promoting other people and growing other people. So I think he's given him an opportunity to do that. Unfortunately for them, they're not very good. And I think it goes beyond, Sam Howell was anointed the starter, 5th rounder out of North Carolina, can really spin it. But you could see the difference in the last couple of weeks when Jacoby Brissett came in and ran that offense versus Sam Howell, and how quickly he made decisions and how quickly he got his ball on target to his receivers. Post-snap or pre-snap, looking at the defense and going, okay, this is what I think they're in. Post-snap, like confirming it and then letting it eat to the guy who's open. Right now. And, the ability to keep yourself on schedule, keep the chains moving, keep yourself in 2nd down and 5- so that you've got a chance, or 2nd down and 6-. So even a 4-yard completion on 1st down keeps you on schedule to where your whole offense is open. 2nd down and 9, you can try to pop a run, but for the most part, they pretty much know where you're at. And so I thought Jacoby did that really well. Sam Howell took a beating, man. He holds on to the ball too long. He has a tough time. Sometimes he wants to be perfect. It's better to be decisive than perfect. Just make a decision and go. So I think there was a lot that they tried to accomplish. One of the things that I will tell you is I think they have been fooled in the way to build a football team. And when you look at them outside the numbers, and we make such a big deal about how you're built, we make such a big deal about wide receivers and tight ends and how you're built and da-da. And when you start to look at, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, you look at their receiving core, I'll put their 4 or 5 deep against anybody's 4 or 5 deep in the National Football League. They're that talented. They really are. And then you look at, at that part of it and go, wow, we're really dynamic out here. Well, guess what? If you can't consistently block guys, does not matter. Sam Howell got sacked over 60 times this year. Sorry. Now, a lot of them on Sam Howell. but a lot of them on the way you call offense and the way you built your football team. So that's something that dramatically needs to change in the nation's capital, is how you're building that football team. The other thing is every tight end you have is cut from the same cloth. Whether it's Thomas, whether it's Bates, Logan Thomas, Jonathan Bates, or John Bates, Cole Turner, they're all like 6'5", 6'6", and 250. And none of them can block. Like, none of them, I shouldn't say they can't block. They're not, that's not their forte, so to speak. And so every guy is cut from the same cloth. You know me, I'm a stickler for being able to block guys on the end of the line of scrimmage and doing that. So I just look at how you're built, and I put a lot of the onus on the way that team has been constructed for some of the problems that they've had.
All right, so we'll see what happens with Washington. It's going to be a fascinating offseason for Commander fans. San Francisco, did you see enough in their win to sort of get the bad taste out of your mouth about how maybe you felt about them after the loss to Baltimore? Although you got this bleep eating grin because
I saw enough.
You got some stuff to tell San Francisco fan right now.
I saw enough in their loss to Baltimore that I thought, when I got on the coach's film, that I thought they kicked their ass.
They kicked Baltimore's ass.
Yeah, offensively they did.
Yeah.
Like, there's several things that make Baltimore really tough. Like, Baltimore is physical. Baltimore can run the ball. Baltimore can do a lot of things. But so can San Francisco. And when you look at what they, like, offensively, Kittle had over 100 yards receiving. He had the big one early in the game on that first drive. I think Ayuk may have had over 100 yards receiving. Christian McCaffrey had over 100 yards rushing. I mean, they put up almost 500 yards of offense, and they turned the ball over 5 times. They threw 5 picks. And so, okay, a couple of them were down in the red zone, right, in the scoring zone. So let's not count those drives. So let's take 2 of those away. You did that with 3 less possessions. So you gave the other team 3 more possessions than you had. So an average game is 12 possessions. So you take your possessions down to what, 9? And you still put up almost 500 yards of offense? And you created some gaping running lanes, and you did a lot of things. I thought the other thing that they did was, and this is, I think there's a learning curve here for San Francisco. So the learning curve is this, is that you got free runners at Lamar Jackson probably half a dozen times. You did not bring him down once, and every time he made a big play on the other side. You know how frustrating that is, how hard that is? Like, as a defense, that you can be perfect in your coverage, perfect in your assignments, perfect in your rush, perfect in your execution, and that dude becomes gelatinous, makes you miss. And it's not, one thing about Lamar, it's not just about running anymore. It's not just about taking off and making something spectacular happen with his feet. It's about taking off, buying time as he goes lateral, and throwing a guy into a position to be dynamic with the football afterwards. And he has been exceptional at that. Plus, they're big, they're physical, they can run. But I walked out of that game being more impressed with San Francisco in a 33-19 loss than I was with Baltimore in a 33-19 win. Yeah. And I'm not down on Baltimore. I think what Baltimore is doing is amazing, and I think Baltimore is really good. But I was not nearly as concerned after I watched the coach's tape than I was before I watched the coach's tape.
So that was your takeaway after looking at the coach's film. Did Kyle Shanahan share some of the same thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said, man, there's always, some really bad things that you look at and say, man, we got to be better there. We got, we were feeling ourselves there, and that cost us this or whatever. But there were a lot of really good things on tape where you would say, and Kyle would say, I walked away from that tape feeling encouraged more than discouraged. And that doesn't happen very often when you lose like that. So, like, I walked away from that. I think the other thing, sitting down and talking with Brock Purdy that I really liked is, like, you can tell his football intelligence, his football IQ, where he wants to go with the football, understanding and being able to break down a defense, looking at pre-snap and confirming post-snap and being able to pull the trigger and being able to get through progressions like bop, 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 like right now. Pretty, like, he's operating at a very high level. But I asked him the one question that, he's been saddled with. And I looked at him like I'm looking at you, and I said, game manager, how do you respond? And I was impressed because he bowed his back a little bit.
Did he?
Yeah.
How so?
He bowed his back because Brock Purdy said, anybody who calls me a game manager either is not watching the film or doesn't know what they're looking at.
Ooh, spicy.
In the end, the end of this thing will tell the story. And I'm telling him, he goes like, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm not saying I'm the best quarterback or I'm the best, but he goes, I got some gunslinger in me, and you look at some of the throws I make, and you look at some of the windows I throw it into. He goes, I know that I'm not the biggest armed guy. I never have been. So I had to make up for the lack of arm talent with perfect timing, with great footwork, with being on time, and knowing where everybody is. And there was this touchdown against the Arizona Cardinals a couple weeks ago that impressed the heck out of me because they motioned into a 2-by-2 formation, okay? So you have a slot where you've got an outside receiver and a slot receiver, right? Then you got a tight end opposite of that. So it's like the formation would be called, you would call it doubles, or some people call it dice, right? Tight end and Z receiver to the left side of the football field. Slot receiver, which is your F, and your Z on the outside. So they get matched up by Arizona in a man look. So the slot receiver has outside leverage. DB has outside leverage. He's about 5 yards off, outside leverage, trying to force that wide receiver into the middle of the football field, right? He's trying to force him to where the hole defender is, meaning the help defender, okay? Outside cornerback has inside leverage, about 5 yards off the ball. So he's trying to force that receiver to the sideline to use the sideline as an extra defender. Okay? So then they snap the ball, and Brock Purdy reads that pre-snap, snaps the ball, looks at it. Both guys jump. Outside guy jumps more inside, forces him, and stays on top. The inside slot defender, jumps outside and takes away the outside breaking route. Brock Purdy looks at it pre-snap, confirms it post-snap, is off of it in less than half a second. So even if the guy got open, he knows based on the coverage, I don't want to go there. So he's not holding the ball to see, hey, maybe the guy will get open anyhow. He's already off of it. So now he goes to Kittle running a shallow. Well, there's two defenders right there engulfing Kittle. Off of Kittle, he's got pressure in his face to Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield running an angle route or a Texas route. And whoop, touchdown, about 8 yards deep in the end zone. He went through that progression. He confirmed it post-snap. He identified it pre-snap, confirmed it post-snap, got through that progression, and I timed it on my stopwatch. Yeah. Just timed it. Under 2 seconds.
Oof.
So he went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 in under 2 seconds and threw a touchdown.
I don't think people realize
it was
how talented, how it was freaking next level that is. That's not game manager.
I rewound it 15 times.
Yeah.
I was like, holy Moses. Yeah. And this is the kid. They're like, well, it's just Shanahan's offense. Like, most guys can't get through. Most guys can't confirm it. Yeah. Most guys can't. And you know what? Most guys aren't good enough or smart enough or not smart enough, disciplined enough to go, I don't want to throw it there anyway. because the coverage dictates that I shouldn't. So many guys will hold that ball, and you might be able to fit it in. Like eventually the slot receiver, even though the guy had outside leverage, broke the stick route and was out to the. You could have fit it in there. You'd have gotten 3 yards. You wouldn't have gotten a touchdown, and it'd been tackled out of bounds, whatever, or forced out of bounds. But you just wouldn't no, I don't like it. So I'm not going to throw it. I'm off of it. Now he got duped in that Baltimore game. The first interception he threw versus a too high look. He thought he was getting a single high. He got duped into throwing one. He was a little bit late with the football, But I'm telling you, he's a little salty, and I kind of liked it.
Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think so many people out there watching think, we talk about quarterback play. It's all about the guy with the big arm or, the guy that can make plays with his legs. And you don't necessarily think of the ability to do what he just did that you described as being elite quarterback stuff.
Right.
But it is. I mean, if you're able to do that kind of stuff, you don't have to have a monster arm. You don't have to be fleet of foot. But if you can do what you just described, that's elite level stuff right there.
It's
that is next level stuff.
Right. It's a story about Joe Montana, and I'll keep it short. But
I think 49er fan is okay with a long Montana story.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know what you're saying. I know.
But yeah, it was one of those situations where, the question to Steve, it was when Steve and Steve Young and Joe Montana were there, and Steve was like, how does, Montana get through progression so quick? And, what does he do? And I can't 1, 2, 3, and, and I got pressure, and he's just like, whoop, I'm like, how do you do that? Right. That was how the story was relayed to me. And, Joe's like, I ain't telling you how I get through. That's for you to figure, the competition, that internal competition. But anyhow, the way it worked is Joe had eventually said, and this is, through my relationship with Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan was coaching, and he just said, basically, man, I eliminate. So pre-snap, I look at the look. When I snap it, if I don't like the defense they're in based on the route combination we're running, I don't even look at it to see if it gets open. I don't go 1 to 2. I'm like, nope, I don't like that. I'm off. I'm onto the backside. And so it just was confirm it. Nope, go to the backside. That, if you want to talk about, and I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is Joe Montana, but if you want to talk about getting through a progression like that, that's how that kid operates. He operates like Joe Montana operated in his thought process. And then sitting down talking to him, I was like, walk me through your process, what you, and he's like, man, so we break the huddle, man. I know the formation, where we're in, what we're motioning to, what we're shifting to, and what the route combination is, where I want to go with the ball. If I get this look, confirm it, safety rotation, all this stuff. And he walked me through, Z's running this, X is running the F's running this, Z's, X is running this, my fullback is running, my Y is running that, whatever. And he walked me through it, and I goes, I know as soon as I see this, then I know based on that look on the front side, I know that my back is in one-on-one with the backside hook defender, right? So I know I've got a one-on-one matchup with Christian. So instantly, even before I go through my progression, before I snap the ball, I'm like, I've already eliminated it. If I get this, I'm getting to the one-on-one on the backside. So then I don't even have to confirm. I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. Let me get to because I know where my best matchup is. Like him walking through this, and I'm not doing it justice because I speak, it's like introductory to Spanish, right? I don't speak quarterback, right? I understand what you're telling me, but I don't articulate as well because I've never had to do it. Right. But I get what the process is, and the kid is super sharp. And then they've got players, man. George Kittle absolutely destroyed the end of the line of scrimmage. Again, analysts out there that always say, when are they going to stop using a tight end to block a defensive end? Up yours. That's your job. It's your job. George Kittle dispensed justice on the line of scrimmage. Matter of fact, I got a note from him after the game. Like, dude, this is just yesterday. Thank you, man. You were awesome. Like, because he loves blocking more than he loves catching passes. And he was killing dudes. And, and you recognize it. And you give the guy props for it. Because he did. He just absolutely destroyed the end of the line of scrimmage. So I appreciate that aspect of who the Niners are. I'll tell you the other thing about the Niners. Like, you want to talk about unselfishness and a willingness to do the dirty work. And I watched Brandon Ayuk grow in that aspect of his game. Deebo Samuel is a full-grown man in that aspect, and it permeates that whole organization. The culture of that organization is you better show up. You better show up on time. You better do your job, and you better kick people's asses. And if you don't, you're in trouble.
So your message then, your big takeaway for San Francisco 49er fans after being with the team last week is that even though they lost 33-19 at home to Baltimore, they relish the opportunity to play the Ravens again.
Let me just say this. If I was a gambling man and that was a Super Bowl matchup, I would put my money on San Francisco, and not because I'm a Kyle Shanahan or Mike Shanahan fan. That's where I would go. Now, again, I'm going to get a lot of blowback from Baltimore.
Yep.
I'm used to getting blowback. I think Baltimore is a freaking outstanding football team. Outstanding. But like I said, that what they did offensively, I thought was super impressive. Hey, like Baltimore made the plays. They blitz a corner off the edge. They tip the ball. It goes to the other guy. Blitzing off the other edge. They intercept it. Brock Purdy makes a bad decision throwing it across his body, and it gets tipped in the air, and they intercept that one. They get his arm hit on a little angle route or a little Texas route to Christian McCaffrey. The ball flutters, gets picked. Like, those are the things. Those things happen, and Baltimore made those things happen. So, if Baltimore could do that again, they'd win again. They would. But again, I walked away from that going into studying that film thinking, man, San Francisco got their ass kicked. And I came out going, and I watched it on TV, but I came out going, ooh, it's not exactly the way it looked like it did on television. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So there you go. 49er
right.
fan, Baltimore fan. Wait a minute. Where's Baltimore fan? Baltimore fan. Don't at me. I don't want it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't. You guys are awesome. You're incredible. Your quarterback is the MVP. I bow down to your superiority. San Francisco fan, you guys are okay. It's going to be okay. I know. I didn't even tell you that real quick. So I'm on the plane, and we get delayed. I'm flying to D.C. to call this game. And so we get delayed. They're working over the overhead bin in where my seat is. So I have to stand up. So the captain comes on and it's like, hey, you calling the game this weekend? Yada. So yeah, I'm calling, and we're just talking, da-da-da. And this lady in row 1 on the other side hears us talking about San Francisco. She's like, I'm from the Bay Area. She goes, I'm from the Bay Area. San Francisco sucked. They got their ass kicked. I'm so disgusted with da-da-da. I'm like, so I'm trying, like, it's a Niner fan, right? So I'm trying to give her, like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, listen, I went back through the film. I looked at it, and they actually played really well. They just turned the ball over 5 times. Nobody's going to win when you turn the ball over 5 times. You don't create a couple of turnovers. But, like, they had offense. They ran the ball well. I don't even want to hear your garbage. What do you know anyhow? They got their, like, she's just going after me.
Wow.
And her husband's looking like, oh, my God. Like, and I'm like, hey, far be it from me.
Yeah.
I was just trying to take
what
some
do
pressure
I
off.
know?
Yeah, and I did. I said, what do I know? I don't, I mean, you're the fan. You know a lot better than I do. I'm just saying they looked better than I thought they would on film. But you got it. Yeah, she was hot and bothered. She was like it was like almost got close to being a Karen experience.
Oh, really?
Right, yeah,
You
she
almost
was-
went verbal. I mean, you almost went viral.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. She was very
Yeah.
heated about her 49ers getting their ass kicked by Baltimore.
Uh-huh.
So anyhow, Yes, but I'm sure.
Well, hopefully she feels better now.
Yeah, hopefully. Now she'll be like, "No, Washington sucks. They're no good. What does that prove? It proves nothing." So anyhow, hey, listen, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, we appreciate you. The Leftovers edition. Thank you so much for listening. And for Mike, I am Mark. We'll be back with you guys next week. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth, we thank you so much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. If you want to see more of our videos, you can also be sure to check out our playlist. Let us know exactly what you think in the comments below. We appreciate you guys so much for being a part of that.
Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.